Hey,
We made it.
we made it. Sainlo, how are you?
I'm so happy. I mean, this is it, guys. We can call it a day. Great, Satish, Mr. Satish. We're happy to have you with us. And you see, me and Hema are very good in keeping the show going. The show must go on. And
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, you're lucky I didn't dance that, so no, I'm just kidding.
Hello, Hema.
Hi,
So,
Mr. Modi, how are you?
मेरा तुम लोग बाहर वाले रूम में बैठ जाओ, please.
So,
Hello.
yeah. So your name here is. Well, I see what happened here is, of course, Satish Kumar Modi, and you are. I mean, you have so many interesting stories about you. I think when we're looking at what you've been doing, Next Generation, India's largest private landlord, and you've written a book. You've written a book. You've done philanthropy. You got an airline. So much going on. So maybe Satish, maybe we can start by maybe just a couple of words about yourself, about the family, how it all started. And you got a city on your name, which is a.
Well, my father.
Yeah.
My father founded the Modi Group of Industries in 1930, and then he established the township of Modinagar next to Delhi. And that was way back in 1930 when India was still under the British rule. So he set up a slew of industries, and the city of Modinagar was created as an industrial town and an education town. And I'm trying to further take it as a dream city. And there is a very beautiful temple there, which was built to create an inner happiness center there. So I'm trying to make it more contemporary and more modern, you know, the whole thing.
And it's a city.
So,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, no, go on, go on. What do you want to ask?
And it's a city with a population of 500,000 people.
Yeah, the city has a population of 500,000 people. And now it is being connected by a 14-lane expressway from Delhi to Modinagar. So it is being integrated into Delhi. And there is a rapid rail also coming. And also there is a airport being built there, which has already started. So you have the air link, you have the rail link, you have the expressway link. So it is getting very interconnected.
And maybe we can start to talk about. I have so many topics. Philanthropy. You were named the ambassador of philanthropy. Now, what does that mean?
Well, I have been introduced to philanthropy at an early age. So what we are doing is we are giving 4,000 children free education around Modinagar. We have set up schools, special schools for teaching students. And then we have 2 centers for stitching time for widows or destitute women. We teach them how to do embroidery and all that. So all in all, it is our idea that we should make them self-sufficient. Also, we have set up in Indixia in New York, and Hema is there, and we are raising funds, and we have got an art institute, International Institute of Fine Art. So what we are doing there is that we are giving free education to students so that they can learn art, fashion, design, and cinema. So this is the overall philanthropy activity.
Amazing. And by the way, what brought you to the UK out of all places?
Well, UK is a very central point, and I had gone there when I started the first private airline, ModiLuft. So at that time, only NRIs were allowed to start airlines. So I had become an NRI to start the airline ModiLuft, which I relaunched as SpiceJet later on when it did not succeed as ModiLuft.
Got it. And can you tell us, by the way, if you have some more lightning, it would be great because it's a little bit dark here. Yeah.
Maybe the sun.
So interesting, you know, lately I've been talking to a lot of people that are supporting arts. So it's interesting. You got a philanthropy dealing with arts as well. Many of my guests somehow ended up with supporting arts. Arts for India is born from the Family Foundation, which helps children, right, in poor areas who have a passion for art. And by the way, I was speaking to Matt Sorum, the drummer of Guns N' Roses, one of the biggest drummers in the United States. And now I've learned about another idol of mine, Alice Cooper, and many others that understand that arts has a huge power to excite people beyond anything else. That if it catches you, whether it's musicals, whether it's acting, it's got a magic in it that can pull somebody from where he is to do something good with his life. So you've done it in India. So can you tell us about that?
Is it better now? The lighting, is it better?
Yeah, slightly.
Okay.
So what is the story of Arts for India?
No, Arts for India is a charity, and we tied up with the Prince Charles School, Royal Drawing School. So we have been getting teachers from there, and that's part of the charity that to bring the British teachers to India, and that's where we are got up till now 60 teachers from UK to India. So the whole idea is that we bring up the standard of the school up to the international level. Like that is the name suggests, International School of Fine Art. And we have got in Chinese students to come and study there. And every year we send our students to China as a study trip. And they have been going before this coronavirus happened. So this year they won't go, but they have been going every year. So it's a bit of this, bit of that, you know.
Now, I will jump back just a second before we continue with philanthropy. To asking you, how did the business, I mean, you became the largest private owner of land in India, which is crazy. How did that happen so fast? In the sense that I understand the business was built by your father. How did you?
Yeah, by my father. It was built by my father. He bought a lot of land. And it's all next to Delhi. So it wasn't that expensive earlier, but now because of the connectivity with Delhi, so it's become part of the capital. We are now part of National Capital Region. So that has changed the equation.
And how does COVID-19 affect what you see around you in the UK, in India? How does that,
No, COVID-19 has been disastrous. It has affected very badly because everything is shut down, everything is locked down. So it has had a very bad effect all over. And also the problem is one doesn't know till when it will go on. There is no end in sight till they find the vaccine. So somebody will say next year, somebody will say end of next year, somebody will say beginning of next year. We don't know anything. And in India, particularly, the situation is quite bad.
And okay, we'll go back. So, but by the way, so do you manage to travel now to India to see what's going on there, or because of
I
the?
took the last flight from UK to India on the 18th March. Now the flights are all stopped. There are no flights between UK and India. So the flights will hopefully start by August. Then I hope to go back to London.
Got it. Now, I met you and your lovely wife and Hema in New York a couple of months ago, and we talked about the Family Foundation, and you support about 400 students at any given point in time. And they all are in Modinagar, which is the city that you guys.
Yeah, that is right, Modinagar. Yeah.
And it's not only art and children in need, you also support women.
That is true.
Divorced women, widowed. You teach them a trade. Can you tell us about that? What's the idea behind that?
Well, the idea was to make them self-sufficient. So we teach them embroidery and, stitching and all the needlework, so that they can do then on their own. They can stand on their own feet, as they say. So they can make a decent living. So basically the idea is to teach them needlework and embroidery and stitching.
And by the way, I'm a horrible interviewer. You see, I jump from points to points. It shows you I have problems in concentrating.
All right.
But if we go back to your airline, because I think the airline is probably showcasing what's going on in the world faster than others, especially as a private airline. Do you see already that there's a lot of demand for private airline because people want to avoid commercial if they can? Or in India, it's not there yet? Or what do you see?
Well, airlines are having a very tough time, to say the least, because of pandemic. Of course, India being India, I mean, it's a large country, so people have to travel, take domestic flights. So domestic flights are okay, but international flights are stopped. But once they start, I'm sure there'll be some passengers going backwards and forwards. But overall, the situation is bad.
Your airline is international or within, or no? Or
well,
within,
SpiceJet is a domestic airline, but they do have some flights which are international, going to Singapore and Dubai and places like that.
The legacy, right? Your father started the business. How many brothers, how many siblings do you have? How did your father got you into the business? And what can you tell us about that? Because obviously it's been very successful. And do you have a next generation also in the business?
Yeah, that is true. So I have 4 brothers, basically. So one of my brother passed away in November last year.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so at the moment we have 4 brothers. And of course, the next generation is also into the business. So basically, the business it was growing nicely, but now with the pandemic, there'll be a problem. But I'm concentrating more on the real estate side now and developing the township of Modinagar. So I contacted some Malaysian developer. They have shown very big interest and they want to come and build in Modinagar. And even some British builders are interested. So by word of mouth, we are getting a lot of inquiries for people to come and build in Modinagar. So I'm sure it will happen.
And then you've written a book.
That is true, In Love with Death.
In Love with Death. What's that all about? I mean, acceptance, I assume, of...
What I say is that In Love with Death is that if you accept death and if you are able to put a date, okay, that will be my date of death, you can lead a more meaningful life. Because And nobody wants to think about one's own death. Although we see every day, this uncle died, that uncle died, this one died. We are born to die. We have to accept that fact. But what is death? Death is a great equalizer. Everybody becomes equal. They become 3.5 kg of dust. So you can be a billionaire, you can be a beauty queen, you can be a beggar. But at death, everybody is equal. That's God's ways. And then I've tried to reason that money, I've written a complete chapter on money. Although money is very important, it's very useful, it's required to live. But if you get abundance of it, if you get too much of it, it can corrupt your soul. It can bring a lot of fights in the family. That's what does, in old times, if you see all the kings used to have a lot of quarrel because of the power and the money. So I have created now an inner happiness foundation coming from my book, that how do you get happiness? Because you have to realize that you are here for a few years and be happy. It's very important to be happy. And that you can only do if you cherish what you have and not be upset about what you don't have. Because nobody has everything in life. So you have to think like that. So from that angle, I think it's important to understand the inner happiness foundation is to bring happiness. Detachment is key to happiness. You see, because we are also past, you have to erase. Because if you live in the past, you will live miserable. So you have to let go of past. Because what happens is, I've realized that people who are living in the past, they are living mostly in bad memories. Because bad memories are automatic, good memories, you have to bring them to you. So it is a matter of understanding life. So all in all, what I'm trying to tell people is that they must see life as it is. First thing, what is important is that God has given you life. Second is your health is most important. Don't take it for granted. Because without good health, nothing is good. So these are the very important points.
And when did you write this book?
I wrote this book in 2014. 2014, 5-6 years ago. Then it got published in China, then it got published in Malaysia. And now finally I'm getting it published in India. Because earlier it was published from UK. So what I'm trying to say also is I've written a chapter on music, because what is music? So I've said that what is food to the body, music is to soul. So it's important that when you get very stressed out, when you are feeling all the pressures, that you should find solace in music. Because that's the way God has made. Music is God's creation.
And when you're looking at the, you say money corrupts, and obviously we know that. How did you manage to deal with it? How did you manage? I mean, your father left you and your siblings with a strong business that you took over very nicely. How are you managing to keep all the tension away within the siblings? And when you look at the next generation, what do you do in order to not end up with your kids fighting about money or about all of that?
No, everybody is doing business and everybody is working hard. So work keeps you away from quarrel, If you're working, you're busy, then that's it. Then you're okay. If you're idle, if you're not doing anything, then it becomes a trouble.
And when I'm looking at what you write, the points, the path towards the goal. Uh, um, you're saying basically keep death in mind at all times. Remember, you are in the departure lounge.
Yeah, you have to remember you are in the departure lounge.
It's not the length of our stay on the earth, but the quality of our stay that counts. Um, keep your words and don't break your promises. There's an Indian saying here that I cannot pronounce, which means we can lose our life, but not our words. Um, um, why? How is keeping your promises as a major part of? I mean, in business, sometimes people will not.
No, this is very important to keep your promise because it's written on your soul. When you make a promise, it's written on your soul. And if you break it, inside you know that you are breaking it. So that guilt is there. So it's important to keep your word. And if you keep your word, you'll feel better. You see, what I've said in my book, everything is related to soul. Because when you depart from this world, the only thing that goes from this world is the soul. So it's important to keep it pure. If you look at a baby, the traction of the baby is a very pure soul. And that's the way God has brought you in the world. So keep it pure. And when you depart, you don't depart, your soul departs. When I say that person has departed, that person has not departed. His soul has departed. So it's important that they keep it pure. And purity of soul, these are the things that you keep your word, do philanthropy, be truthful, lead a good life, lead an honest life. That way you can overcome most of the problems.
And you say in another point here that grief is a gateway to enlightenment.
That is true, because grief, when you get grief, you get detached. Detachment is very, like Buddha also said, detachment is the key. Detachment is the key. So it's very important that that point comes when you have grief. That detachment, it happens. You at that point you are not very attached to the world. You think, oh my God, supposing you lose your parents or you lose your sibling or you lose some very dear one. So you get totally detached at that point. So that is a gateway. That detachment is very important because when you die, you get detached. You see.
And it's interesting because what you're talking about is basically what many families are dealing with. You know, when I've been doing this, in the family office space for ages, and I think
Right.
what you see all across from families in Israel to families in India, in the UK, cross-cultural, it's that with money comes of course, a lot of responsibility, but also a lot of tension and parts of families that don't talk to one another and a father that doesn't talk to his son and horrible things. And
Absolutely.
by the way, you know what? It's not only money. You know, one of the greatest artists that I personally love is Frank Zappa. And Frank Zappa was one of the greatest guitar players, thought leaders, open-minded people that was ever here or in the United States. And it's very sad that his kids were fighting over the rights to his music.
Absolutely.
His son plays his music, his sister, I don't know what happened there. They fought over, and it became ugly. And once the mother died, all hell broke loose. So
Look at Elvis' grandson killed himself. Elvis Presley. I read last week that he committed suicide at the age of what, 27 or something. It's amazing. So these are the people who are so rich and so famous, and still they want to commit suicide is something amazing.
That, unfortunately, you see that, in so many places. And you see that with famous people. You see that with the most famous actors. And not to talk about the next generation. The next generation is always under the shadow of the first generation that was so successful and amazing, and they are not maybe as talented in those areas, and they are always under that shadow that brings sometimes dire situations. I had
Exactly.
I had people that spoke at my conferences where their kids committed suicide, and one of my speakers devoted his life from that point on to that. I had a VC guy from Canada that told me, Danny, I don't know where my kid is now. He's under a bridge. He's under, I don't know what he's doing. People that sometimes, in order to build what they needed to build, had to neglect or whatever. I mean, there are different stories, but what you're talking about is the heart, probably the biggest problems of the families in the world, families with wealth, families with fame. So basically, it's very interesting that you came with this book that basically is trying to prevent that.
Yeah, that is true.
So I'm just here, and sorry, I wanted to focus off of me and on Mr. Modi and you, but also because of that, what you just said. So in love with that, that premise. So we're turning it into an institute, to inner happiness, to focus on the more positive side of everything. So I guess Mr. Modi can tell you it'll be a physical institute.
Yeah, that is true. We are creating an inner happiness foundation, and we'll put a physical center in Modinagar. The idea is to bring the concept of inner happiness to the people. Because people are unhappy because what they had earlier and sometimes they don't have now. So that makes them unhappy. Whether it's a child or whether it's a business or whether it's a relationship or whether it's parents. They had parents before, now they don't have. So unhappiness always is geared towards a loss of wealth or relationship. So if you get detached and focus on your inner happiness, then you can be happy. You see the point?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will tell you that, first of all, you guys, when I say you guys, the people of India don't only have probably the best food in the world. No, really, really. That's just so you know, that's my favorite food. But also one of the deepest people in the world. I mean, obviously, you come here. Actually, I just found out where my camera is. So for the first time doing this webinar, I'm actually looking at you. So yeah, so in a way, some cultures, and obviously India is one of the major one where being deep in a spiritual is part of life. And in a way, COVID-19 maybe made people, you talk about detached from the rat race and suddenly look deeper into people, into themselves. Suddenly people are detached from the rat race in the US, in the UK, and maybe people are starting to get a little bit deeper. So would you bring all of that work of yours to the United States, to the UK as well? I understand you're going to be, the head of it is going to be in India. How will you bring it to other parts of the world?
No, I'm planning to open chapters in United States, in UK of Inner Happiness Foundation. where it will help people to connect. Because it's surprising that as we age or as we live in this world, instead of becoming happier and happier, there is a sadness in us. And that sadness is because of certain loss that has happened. As I said, the loss of maybe parent, children, whatever, a loss is a loss is a loss. And that loss doesn't allow us inner happiness. So it's very important to detach. Detachment is the key. So let us see if we can succeed in that way, in bringing people.
How do you see COVID-19 getting into what you wrote 4 years ago? I think it's somehow connected. People are in dire situations right now that nobody could have expected. So that's one question. And the next would be, how do you see COVID-19? How do you think we'll get out of it? Do you think it will change the world? Do you think it will change how we think, how we work, how we operate? Or do you think it's a crisis that's going to disappear and year 2, 3 we'll be back to normal?
Well, until you find the vaccine, the crisis cannot disappear because the numbers are ever increasing. The virus is multiplying. So how are you going to overcome this problem unless the vaccine is found? And the problem with these type of viruses is that now there is another virus coming, then some other disease coming, because we are playing with nature. You see, we are all these things that happened in China, sorry to say, should not have happened, the wild market and all, snakes, bats, things like that. I mean, God knows what has caused this virus. But till the virus cure is found, I don't think it will go away. You have to find the cure.
But they're talking about that possibly by the end of the year. Or
well, good. If you can find the cure by end of the year, fantastic. Fantastic. Because my question is that if we can find the cure, nothing can be better than that.
And then, how can families get involved with what you do? Do you can they donate to the foundation? I know you have charities, but you have so many charities. Emma, I know you're involved with some of those. How do people get involved?
No, Inner Happiness Foundation, we are not looking for money. You see, we are not looking for money at all. It's not a charity. It's a philosophical foundation. It's a foundation where I'm trying to bring joy to the people. So that is not a charitable organization at all. So you cannot donate money in that foundation. You can be member of the foundation and you can be contributing to foundation. It's a giving wisdom rather than a physical thing, So there is no requirement for charity.
And I know you have a WhatsApp group as well. Yeah, Emma, I'll let you. Some people write us already, by the way, that they would like more information about the foundation. So maybe, Emma, you will send me something and then we'll send to everybody at our automatic email that's going to be sent tomorrow.
Absolutely, Denny. There's a way that we do have Adopt an Artist program where it's a win-win situation for everybody involved, because we have these students who have a passion, but you can adopt an artist for a certain amount, which is under $2,000 for the whole year, which pays for their tuition, housing, food, everything. And you see them through their 4-year scholarship, and you can communicate, visit them, and even promote them, or however way. So it's a win-win. Perhaps you're into music. We have music, we have art, fashion, all sorts of different things.
And currently, this is all happening in India, obviously. In the United States, you're there for 15 years.
In New York, we have established a 501c3, Indixia it's called.
Can you tell us about that?
It's called Art for India.
Oh, and do you have also operation in the United Kingdom, or it's basically?
Yeah, United Kingdom, we have a charity called Arts for India.
How do you have time to run businesses in real estate, aviation, philanthropy, writing a book, next generation?
Well, it's a lot of delegation, and at the same time, the philanthropy and the inner happiness, it comes from me, within me, it is like the book, you have to write it yourself. It has to come to you. So there are certain things you can delegate, certain things you have to do it yourself. Like you cannot delegate writing a book to somebody, you have to do it yourself.
Yeah, that's amazing. So maybe I think we got like maybe 2-3 minutes. Anything else that you'd like to tell us here about what you do, or anything else? Any last words for everybody who's with us here?
No, I would like to say to the people that don't worry, be happy. At the same time, get detached. And in the end, you are going to lose it in any case. When you die, everything will go. So you have a lease of life. It's not a life, it's a lease of life. So make the most of it and cherish this God-gifted life. Be happy, be inner happy.
Definitely. So, Satish, you were supposed to be the keynote speaker at our London conference, but that obviously is now postponed. So we will. We're hoping to meet you in person, you and Hema, hopefully in early 2021.
Right.
Hema, we are trying to do an event in New York City with our friends, the Silverstein family, at the rooftop of the World Trade Center, which is the largest terrace in New York City. So it's going to be a safe family office event in mid-September. So you're welcome to join us there. And hopefully, Satish, I don't know what will happen by September. Nobody knows, but I hope us as well. And I will just say that next week, my guests are the McLean family, Drayton and Denton McLean, a family that basically was a $19 billion business. It was bought by Walmart. They're doing amazing things in so many different sectors. We'll talk about it next week. You can see my post on LinkedIn today. So, Mr. Modi, thank you so much for being here. Hema, thank you so much for joining us. And we're looking forward to seeing you in person, keynoting one of our future conferences.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your kindness.
Thank you so much. Stay safe, everybody.
Thank you.
Sorry, it
Bye.
was
Thank
rough
you.
start, but it was great. Thank you.